right, let's turn attention to another story now. The asset management company of Nigeria, Amcon, has taken over the running of ARIK Air. The airline has been struggling with huge debts totaling 139 billion naira.
Well, Amcon appointed Roy Ilebodu as the managing director under the receivership of Oluseyi Okpasanya. Now, Okpasanya says Amcon is on a rescue mission and intends to revive ARIK, sustain its operations and keep its fleet in the air.
10 of the aircrafts owned by ARIK were funded exclusively by Amcon. This is apart from those aircrafts part funded by with monies provided by Nigerian banks, which became eligible bank assets that Amcon acquired from the Nigerian banks. So Amcon has watched with concerns the dwindling fortunes of ARIK, and of course the plight of the flying public in recent times. And a decision was therefore made by Amcon in consultation with the industry regulators that Amcon should appoint a receiver to rescue the operations of ARIK. My duty is not only to protect Amcon, but also to protect those other creditors. That's why we're interested in the operations. We believe that if the business is revitalized, there will be enough revenue to satisfy the obligations of, but also to protect those other creditors. That's why we're interested in the operations. We believe that if the business is revitalized, there will be enough revenue to satisfy the obligations of, the payment obligations of Amcon, of ARIK to all its creditors.
Right, thanks for joining us. Certainly, that's the foundation to our discussion right now. We have joining us the Secretary General, Aviation Roundtable, John Ojikutu, joining us in the studio right now. Good morning.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Nice to see you.
It's nice meeting you.
Right, the takeover of ARIK Air, well, from reports even before now, the whole of last year, there were complaints and complaints from the reports we got how people who were supposed to travel cannot travel sometimes because of rescheduled flights, cancelled flights, all of that, complaints and so on. But with the takeover of ARIK right now, what is going to really be different? Give us that background now.
We just have to be very careful the way we handle the ARIK issue.
Yeah. Okay.
The problem didn't start now,
Yes.
like some of us have always said. The problem of ARIK and some other airlines, major airlines in this country, actually started about 2012.
Okay.
About 2012. It's not something that just started now. But very unfortunately, the regulatory agency that is supposed to be following up the earnings and spendings of this airline were just not doing their bit. For me, I was really surprised. ARIK was about 4 years old or 5 years old in 2012 when it got intervention fund of about 30 billion. And the government gave them that intervention fund, including Air Nigeria, the defunct Air Nigeria. Air Nigeria, that was just about 2 years old in the industry, got about 35 billion. And the question then was, what was their debt portfolio? For a business outing that just came out 2-3 years, maximum 4 years. and government was giving them intervention fund to pay debts, not to reflect their aircraft, not to add to their aircraft, but to pay debts. And some of us raised eyebrow, especially with the central bank that was bringing out the money. Have you found out the debt portfolio of this agency? But for ARIK to have moved from that amount to 130 within how many years now is worrisome. And Amcon was there, even as at the time ARIK was getting this intervention fund of about 30, and the Virgin Nigeria was getting 35. Amcon was sitting down with the central bank and board of Bank of Industry at the National Assembly when this matter was being investigated for the first time. Unfortunately, nothing came out from it. Nothing came out from it till now. And that's why I'm worried.
And now Amcon says that the move to take over ARIK is to restore regular and undisrupted operations, protect jobs and investor interests. Now, we've had Nigeria Airways, and that went bust. Air Nigeria,
Virgin Nigeria.
Yes. And now you have an ARIK airline that actually has a large chunk of the Nigerian aviation market, about 50% or so, that may be going back into the hands of government. What should we make of this? In the first place, the airlines that were in the hands of government went.
We need to find out. We need to find out. Apart from Nigerian Airways.
Yes.
Nigerian Airways was just a kind of interference from the government anyway that brought it down to the level where it got to. But most, if not all, private airline operators in this country are single ownership management structure, and that is what is killing them. The effective lifespan of each one of them, if you go into record, effective lifespan, including ARIK, it's just about 4 or 5 years. After that, they start nosing down.
Why is that? Why does that happen consistently?
That is why I said that I hold the NCAA, the Civil Aviation Authority, that is supposed to be checking their balance sheets every month. That's the regulation. To be checking their balance sheets every month. We aren't doing that. Last week, not last week, about 2 weeks ago, NCA just came out now to show us the earnings, not even the spending. For the first time, since it has been established, for the first time, probably because of all this noise that are coming out now, came out for the first time to learn the airlines have earned so much from ticket sales. But tell us how much they are owing. Nothing like that came out from that report. So this is part of our problem. So if Amcon is coming in now, they need to go back and find out what killed the industry. The way they are going about it now, I don't want to predict now, but I know they are not going about it. I'm hearing they want to go and collect another 10 billion.
Yeah, that's what
because
they're
they
saying.
said they require about 10 billion
No.
I mean,
to keep
with
it
a
on
debt
air.
profile of 300
I'm
billion,
telling you.
and then you need 10
Absolutely.
billion. How do you work that out?
What they need to do, even people say we shouldn't talk, we need to advise them because they're going to kill the industry. First and foremost, they must reduce the frequency of flight of ARIK. Limit it to domestic and probably regional. Not intercontinental. Not beyond the region of West African coast. Watch it for the next 6 months. And for them to do that, ARIK was spending an average of 100 million naira every day for fuel. 100 million naira. How are you going to cope with the present fuel rate? So what I'm advising them to do is that let them limit their operation to about 20 to 30 frequencies instead of the 120 they were doing before. Watch it for the next 6 months. Limit it to only the domestic area and regional. Watch your earnings. Watch your spending for that period before you can now start moving. If you want to blow it up again to start going to New York and London, you're going to run into trouble. So they cannot say they want 100 billion to sustain that operation. They will run into trouble. Because they need to sit down and find out what is killing them. Fuel is one. You understand? You have to pay for landing and parking. A lot of them were not paying for landing and parking. That was why FAN was not able to repair Abuja. And it got to the level where it got to.
But why do they have to do all this in credit? The monies from ticket sales. Is that not supposed to cover some of these
I'm
things?
happy you said that. That's what we said. I said, you are owing fuel marketers. You are owing FAN for giving you wrong way to land. Because if there's no wrong way, you cannot even take off. You are owing NAMA for providing navigational services for you to move from point A to point B. You are owing your staff. You are owing insurance. Then what are you doing with this money? That is the question I kept asking when Arik started this thing. Apparently, he even told me before this problem came up, he was going to sue me. I mean, I just laughed about it.
Yes, and Arik has been questioning fans' indebtedness claims. They're saying it's unsubstantiated.
Oh, bring it out. I'm happy now that they said they want to bring a forensic auditor. Let them go into it. Let them find out. If you have been paid, bring out your receipt for the period you've been flying for about 10 years now. We know that most of them, not only him, most of them were not paying for the services. They feel that these services should be free to them.
How is that possible?
How is it possible? They feel that the services should be free for them.
Strange.
But I said you could negotiate. It is not compulsory you go to airport like Abuja and Lagos. You could go to other places where you pay less. But if everybody wants to go to Abuja, you want to go to Lagos and probably Kano and Port Harcourt, which are international airports, then you pay. And when you look at their routes, that is the area you find all of them going into. So the issue now is that for me, as much as I'm going to blame the airline, I will always hold the NCA responsible. Because they are the only authority as far as aviation is concerned in this country. And they are supposed to regulate them. Not only regulating safety and security, you have power to check into their books, to know whether they are financially healthy, to contain, to sustain their operation.
Right. In all of this issues that are rising in ARIK and some of the airlines, is it a product of corruption or is it just a product of incompetence or lack of skill?
Both.
Oh.
Both combined. Incompetence, I just told you. One single man sitting down there, running at the airline. That's why they don't last. Their lifespan, I said their effective lifespan is just about 4 or 5 years. And what do they start doing? They start investing from that area and put money into other businesses outside aviation.
Instead of replowing it.
So you find out that by the time the auditors will come, if they want to do a thorough job, because some of us know that a lot of money through the banks themselves are not helping the issue. They are part of the problem. Because when you are talking of corruption, the last intervention fund, and I will say with all responsibility that the banks were part of it. They collected this money, they divested it. 300 billion. If you go to power sector, you are going to find that money there.
Oh.
If you go to power sector, and I'm telling you this, you'll find this money there.
Well, it doesn't seem to have rubbed off positively the power sector if...
Absolutely, that's another thing.
Exactly.
If any of it went to the power sector.
You know what? Even the power sector themselves, the same people are asking government for intervention fund.
Yeah.
They came in, they didn't put anything there. The power lines are there. They didn't put anything there. The substations were there. They didn't put anything there. The transformers were there. They didn't put anything. They are asking government for intervention. In actual fact, when that intervention came out in 2012, the power sector, the so-called disco, Django, or whatever they call them, they were supposed to get 300 billion. And they got part of it. And I asked, what did they do with that money? This government came in now, they're asking for intervention. The same way the airlines are asking for intervention.
All right, let's come back to dwell more on this. Let's go on a break now.
Yeah.
We'll go on a break and then we come back. But don't forget that top of the hour will be time for us to go for the news update. And ARIK will be taking us there at the time. Stay with us on TVC Breakfast.
Okay, you're welcome back. Talking about the aviation sector and the downward turn in that particular sector. It's a wonder, how the airlines actually survive. What strategies are they putting in place that they're able to survive in a recession.
The recession. John was telling us earlier on, he was likening it to what happened in the power sector. Private investors are coming in, and we expect if you're coming in as a private investor, you would have had your funds, your capital, you would have had your skilled people and all of that. You would have had an understanding, you would have had a pedigree. So when you're going into this business, you know if you're taking over a certain business
This
or
is
you're
what
taking
we
over,
expect.
this is what we expect.
Of course, getting back jet fuel, you know, and all of that and all of those costs. So how is it possible that they actually continue to stay in business? They must be circumventing one way or another.
Well, we'll certainly get into all of this because there are some questions we need to ask, and there's something people certainly have to know about this.
You're welcome back. You're watching TVC Breakfast. John Ojikutu is our guest. You were saying earlier, when we went on that short break, that we need to look at the other side too, and how the aviation sector has been affected, of course, by a recession. We know that 40% or so, well, that's what we've heard, of their revenue actually goes into buying jet fuel. And of course, they have complained too. That's operators have talked about policies that government needs to put in place, and I wonder what some of these policies you believe should be in place, and some of the excessive costs of running the sector generally. So let's try to unravel this.
We try to do some work on the earnings of all the operators, because some of the problems they are talking about is most especially the scarcity of
fuel and forex.
There's no scarcity of fuel.
Oh, okay.
There's no scarcity of fuel. Let's talk of scarcity of foreign exchange.
Forex.
Because that is what I will talk more than, because each time they talk of scarcity of fuel, I always tell them, but the international airlines are flying. They are buying fuel. I've had stories that they fly to Ghana to go and buy fuel. I say it's not possible, because they're going to burn fuel to Ghana. They land in Ghana, they're going to pay landing and parking. That's additional to the cost of fuel. So why would they have to do that?
Yeah, but they will tell you, look, this is a highly dollarized sector. Nigerians buy tickets in Naira.
Beautiful. The airline will pay in dollar. They pay the marketers in dollar. In actual fact, by my calculation, the foreign airlines were consuming about 1.5 million liters every day, out of about 4 or 5 million that we consume. ARIK alone is consuming 500,000, so the other airlines are sharing the remaining. But they had to pay in Naira. The foreign airlines are paying in dollar. And by my calculation, there is sufficient dollars available for the marketers to bring in fuel. Because like I told them the other day, that you sell PMS on the road, you use dollar to bring it. You don't collect dollar on the road, you collect Naira. In the airport, from the foreign airline, 1.5 million a day, you are collecting dollars. So by the time we do all those calculations, you have some money. Even if you need from the central bank, it's not much. We'll talk about fuel. Because they have to sell at that dollar rate to the Nigerian airlines. It's more. You understand? But again, it's a lot of calculation you have to do that. It shouldn't have gone to that level, because if you multiply, at the time they were buying dollar at 170, 180, fuel was selling for about 80 Naira. Yes. So if you now double the price by 300, 360, you double the other one by, then it goes to 170, 180. But when they start selling the fuel at 200, 300, that's another cup of tea. You understand? But it's okay. Fuel is expensive. It has doubled. Right. So if it has doubled, then you look at the price of the ticket. You understand? You have to look at the price of the ticket. What do? We must find a way to add some money. But up to now, they are just dancing around it, and I always ask that question. Then where are you getting the balance if you cannot double the price of air ticket from 22,000 to 40,000? Then something is wrong somewhere.
Is it not because they're scared people may not want to? I mean, if I was buying ticket for 50,000,
that is why they will die.
And you have to charge me.
No, but that is why they will die. You can't you can't sustain that operation.
Yeah, but we know that.
So they believe they are doing government a favor, and because they are doing government a favor, then government should give them intervention fund.
But
and I always tell them, if the kitchen is on, you go out.
Okay. In the aviation as it is right now, we know that it is liberalized, but is there a ceiling by which their airfares or ticket sales or the cost of their ticket should not go beyond?
That's an economic decision for them to take.
Okay.
You understand?
So they have the free hand?
They have a free hand to do that. Government cannot stop them. It's a free business. So if you want to remain there at that price, there must be something you are getting. They were getting something before which they couldn't get under this government. Now, everybody is collapsing. Aero was the longest after Nigerian Airways in this country. Immediately the British people left. I told people, I said, Aero cannot last 3 years. Because you are going to run it the Nigerian way. And when they run it the Nigerian way, they will collapse. And that's exactly what happened. And that's why I tell you, effectively, when they come in, the money comes in. You understand? After about 3 years, 4 years, the first sign is they get is that 1 or 2 of their aircraft has to go for C check. And when they are going for C check, it's a lot of money. It wipes out the so-called interest they think they have in the last 2 or 3 years.
So it's the Nigerian factor. With ARIK, for example, we hear they have some 31 or so aircraft in their fleet, but only 9 are functional.
About 21
right now.
Are either grounded or on C check.
Gone on C check or something.
So how do they pay for it? With this debt.
And you talked about Aero. Of course, there was a time when government actually bailed out Aero.
The same time all of them got money.
They all did.
They all did. Aero got, ARIK got. The one that got and collapsed, he got 35 billion. It's still there. They are not looking at it too. 35 billion.
Air Nigeria.
Air Nigeria. He got 35 billion. Within 6 months, he disappeared. Nobody's running after him. Chachangi got, about 3 IRS got, but their own was minimal.
So who is to blame? Is government just throwing money at this problem and not
That is why I said we need to investigate it beyond this level.
Where they're meant for.
Government needs to investigate it beyond Amcon. The banks need to be investigated too, because they are part of it. How did they come about intervention? If you ask them, if you call ARIK, if you bring ARIK here, he will tell you that they didn't pay the money to him. But who spent the money? They didn't pay the money, they paid the money to the bank. To whose bank? There are questions like I always tell them, when you call them, you need to call the airlines individually to let them come and tell us how they came about that debt. How did they come about intervention fund? That you are getting intervention fund, within 3-4 years you enter business to go and pay debt. And I say, what debt? What is your income every year that you have acquired debt of 30 billion within 3 years? That's why I said they need to investigate all these things.
There is even an assumption that if you come into a business and the first thing you are asking is to get monies to pay debts, and the money is given to you, we assume your debt has been slashed. From that point on, we expect you to perform at a very high...
In their own case, it's increasing.
All right, now the other airline, Medview, I think, is the first to enlist the stock exchange now to become a public company. In that regard, how very good is that?
I always say that is the way to start. Make it open. Make it transparent. Go public. All this intervention fund they are asking, they don't need it. Why didn't Melville go and ask for intervention fund? If you come into the business, make it open. It is capital intensive. What do you need? You need money. Go to the capital market. And that is what I said, that governments, in the policy that they will come out now, if you are going to go outside this country to go and do business, regional, continental, go to the public market. If you can't go to the public market, do your domestic airline here. Don't go anywhere. Don't go and disgrace us outside this country.
So would you agree then with those who actually say that, look, some of these airlines, if not all of them, actually take the Nigerian flyer for granted? They will always make their profits one way or another.
That the NCA is the authority. I blame them. Most of them shouldn't be in the market. I blame them.
Let's even look at the quality of...
Because they are the only authority to know whether an airline should fly
or not.
And when airlines are flying and they are in debt as this much, and that debt is not a debt of 1 year, not 2 years, not 3 years.
They should know.
Habba.
And know what to do.
Habba.
Okay, we'll come back to this. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually should be going on break.
Yeah, let's. Okay, right. I think But let's end the discussion here right now. John Ojikutu, General Secretary, Aviation Roundtable, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
We'll go on a break and then we come back with final discussion for the day.